Recording is in progress, boys.
Thank you, Andrew, and good morning, everybody. It is now week 54 of the Indigenous Global Unity Summit, IGU Summit. So we have our guest speaker, Jennifer Nyanga, coming online fairly soon. We will begin today's session as normal, and we may break as soon as she comes online so she can do her presentation first. But as always, before I get started, I do like to say land acknowledgement. So we begin today by acknowledging that we walk upon the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples, and we recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of the land. We're grateful to all Indigenous groups for their commitment to protect the land and its resources. We're committed to reconciliation, partnership, and enhanced understanding. We acknowledge the land we're meeting on here in the Greater Toronto Area is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Wendat, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe peoples, and is now home to many diverse peoples. We'd like to acknowledge the land we're on here is at the meeting place of two treaties, the lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit and those of the First Nations of the Williams Treaty. We thank them and other Indigenous people for sharing this land with us. We also acknowledge and recognize all of the world's Indigenous peoples as stewards of Mother Earth. So as we move forward, I always like to say at the beginning now, Sawubona, which means I see you, I see myself in you, I see your hopes, your dreams, and your struggles. I see your ancestors as well, because interconnectedness does not end with the two people who are greeting each other, it extends to include the ancestors. All beings in Mother Nature are interconnected. There is no sense of being separate. I see myself in all beings, and therefore, if I harm other beings or Mother Nature, it translates into harming myself. So I like to begin with the events coming up. As again, the month of June is the International Children's Month, where I will be putting a link in the chat for information about that. Again, Indigenous History Month is here in Canada for all of June 2022. Again, Indigenous Unity Month commemorates the heritage, diverse cultures, and outstanding achievements of the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis in this country. Again, World Day for Combat Desertification and Drought is tomorrow, Friday, June 17th. The World Day to Combat Desertification and Drought was declared on the 17th of June to be focused on turning degraded land into healthy land to build economic resilience, create jobs, raise incomes, and increase food security. So the websites in the chat indicate this information about this day. Also coming up on Monday, June 20th is World Refugee Day, which is an international day organized every year on June 20th by the United Nations, designated to celebrate and honor refugees from around the world in recognition of the 50th anniversary of the 1951 Convention relating to the status of refugees. So also coming up on Tuesday, June 21st is International Day of the Celebration of the Solstice. This one has some relevance to us as well, because that day was proclaimed by the UN as an observance that brings awareness to the importance that solstices and equinoxes have for many religions who celebrate the sun reaching the most northerly or southerly day arc relative to the equator. It occurs when the sun reaches its most northerly or southerly excursion relative to the equator. So June 21st happens to also be the International Day of Yoga, which is celebrated annually since 2015, so it's fairly new. And this was actually an event that was proposed by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi at his UN General Assembly speech in 2014 in India, where they noted that yoga is a unique opportunity to recognize the holistic approach to health and well-being provided by the practice of yoga. Again, information in the chat. June 21st, as I mentioned, is important to us also because it was our very first Sunlight Spectacle edutainment event back in 2020 that actually took place in St. Jamestown, Toronto. And a link to the original Sunlight Spectacle 2020 is shown in the chat. I will also be sharing some links to some groups that we were working with at the time in Bermuda, where Emir Salim Talbot from the Bermuda Islamic Cultural Center and the Right Reverend Nicholas Dill, the Bishop of Bermuda, and Dr. Fiona Elkinson, President of the Jewish Community of Bermuda, came together with a group of community members to show their support for the Crossroads in the City Peace Initiative, precipitated by the New Year's Eve 2020 Candlelight Peace Vigil. So they gathered on that day to plant a tree of peace and reconciliation during the 10th Annual United Nations World Interfaith Harmony Week and the Vision 2020 campaign to plant 2,020 trees in Bermuda by the end of that year. So again, in the chat, you will find a link to that event. Also on Sunday, May 24th, in Bermuda, they followed that tree planting up with additional tree plantings with Governor John Rankin from Government House, along with these religious leaders on the island, where they planted the tree to symbolize harmony and tolerance between the different religious communities, and where Governor Rankin welcomed that Christians, Muslims, and Jewish people were living in a spirit of tolerance and mutual respect in Bermuda. And they wanted to use the island as an example for other parts of the world. And they said it was particularly important at this time of COVID-19 outbreak to work together. And so there were, again, the Roman Catholic bishop, the emir of the Muslim community, and the Anglican bishop of Bermuda coming together from the Jewish community as well. And so the link again is in the chat. And one more related item is the Bermuda Committee on Human Fraternity, that was created earlier that year as well, and where they declared that they wished to establish Bermuda as a global laboratory to promote the sustained spirit of unity among world peoples that will be required to overcome these challenges. So at that time, they noted that all peoples will be encouraged to engage their own tree of reconciliation and peace in celebration of the unique moment in modern history. Again, in the chat is a link to those ceremonies, along with I am sharing as well the official news release by the government during that ceremony at that time. I wanted to mention as well that yesterday was the World Elderly Abuse Awareness Day, Wednesday, June 15th, where that day was launched in 2006 by the International Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse and the World Health Organization of the UN, commemorated each year on June 15th, to highlight one of the worst manifestations of ageism and inequality in our society. Elder abuse is any act that causes harm to an older person carried out by someone they know and trust, such as a family member or friend. Again, in the chat is some information about that day yesterday. But the reason I want to say about that is because coming up on Saturday, June 15th, at 12 noon our time here in Toronto, is a commemoration webinar for World Elder Abuse Awareness Day with Gabriela Malaika from Jaffa, Uganda, and Juliet Nyabo from Tots and Kids South Africa, and Nina Womack from Let's Be Whole in the US, John Charles Orak from the National Network for Older Persons in Uganda, Sintiswa Mabdinsa, I'm not saying it correctly, from the Wretched Women's Diary in South Africa, and Dr. Irwan Rusli from the Rusli Institute, also in the USA, with an event moderated by Her Royal Highness Princess Tshepi Motlong from South Africa. So again, I will share a direct link for that event coming up this Saturday. And of course, we shouldn't forget our 2022 Ad Hoc International Advisory Board AHIABGA UnityNet Abraham Project tree planting that just happened earlier this month. The global coordinated event took place on Sunday, June 5th, including a Greater Toronto area tree planting. We did 2 tree planting events in Mississauga. The first in Meadowood Park with the support of the city of Mississauga, who donated 10 trees in 5 different species. The second one with the Continental Dance Club with the support of their owner, Brian Torner, a world champion trainer, choreographer, 15-time world championship adjudicator, and championship ballroom dancer. So I will put a couple of links in the chat for those 2 events that we did a couple weeks ago. So I wanted to mention the flag and Indigenous unity and the unity of humanity is actually an important thing for our individual lives and the machinations of political leaders, because most people don't really get it yet that God, Mother Nature, however you define it, loves us all equally. So we are beginning already to start preparing for next year's June 15th, 2023 World Environment Day planting here in the city of Markham by working with my own city councillor, Issa Lee, who we'll actually be talking to later today. So we'll also work with our counterparts in Africa and the US, California and New York, etc., such as EdFu Foundation and African Coaches League and Cash Community Development, which is a Native American-owned managed 501(c)(3) nonprofit designed to address the financial needs of natives through the US and Alaska and Hawaii. So I want to make sure that for every tree of peace and reconciliation that is planted in the world, that we eventually have a commemorative plaque and a flagpole erected beside the trees, so that we have an Indigenous unity flag raising ceremony at the time of the planting, along with the Pledge of Allegiance from the members of the local INAB Collaborative to empower the local humanitarian entrepreneurs, or what we call our FFHE, who are implementing the local solutions to achieving the global goals locally. So that we place the flag in the tree and those become sacred spaces in all our communities as symbols of peace, reconciliation, forgiveness, compassion, collaboration, and regeneration. And we want, of course, the people involved in the planting ceremonies to sign this commitment to leave no one behind in their own local community, ensuring that those who pledge and commit to support us in all of our local communities will move forward together in support of decolonization and re-indigenization of our minds and our physical spaces in lockstep with all of the Indigenous peoples of the world. So coming up as well, I want to mention, as this is a long introduction, we do have our 3rd Tea Diplomacy Initiative event taking place also on Saturday, June 18th, starting earlier at 8 a.m. We do it on June 18th because that is Sustainable Gastronomy Day. So I'd like everybody to register there for the 3rd UnityNet International Tea Diplomacy Initiative. Again, Saturday, June 18th, starting at 8 EST, or EDT, I should say, Eastern.
Excuse me, Lloyd. Jennifer now is able to have her audio.
Okay.
And I'm going to briefly stop sharing and include one other request that we acknowledge Juneteenth, which is coming up on June the 19th. It celebrates in 1865, the day that 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was established, the people in Texas were finally notified that they were, in fact, no longer enslaved, but free. And so on June the 19th every year, there's celebrations throughout the United States. Here in Los Angeles, we'll be celebrating it in Lamont Park. Wow. We're having audio problems, but I'll turn it back over to you, Lloyd.
And Lloyd, there's also something I put in the chat. It's a PDF that tells about an activity that's happening until September that's covering Juneteenth. And so if people want more information on Juneteenth, and because we're doing celebrations, but the Foreign Commission is asking that we add education so that we'll be able to move forward in freedom. It's called Freedom Forward, but it's in the chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Prophet. And thank you as well, Andrew, for reminding me of that. It isn't sort of an official UN day, the Juneteenth.
So it's an official US holiday. Last year, President Biden acknowledged Juneteenth as a national celebration.
Yes, absolutely.
We actually have several streets closed off for a festival.
Yeah, so I would just go by the UN calendar when I created the original Global UnityNet calendar for all of these events that I do promote at the beginning. But I will definitely be adding that to our official calendar for all years moving forward.
Thank you very much.
And Jennifer has audio too. I don't know if you noticed, if you can see, Lloyd, from because sometimes I know you have a screen up you can't see, but she's able to unmute.
So I just
so Jennifer, can you test? Oh, go ahead, Lloyd.
I was just going to say, let me just finish up the beginning, the opening, which is usually where I start, because I do have a couple more links just as put into the chat. I like to say as well, we like to add more partners to us.
Go ahead, Lloyd.
Yeah, sorry. So I'd like to say we would like to add more partners. If any more partners would like to feature your NGO or your humanitarian enterprise on our Eventbrite page for the Tea Diplomacy Initiative that is coming up, we can always add more. There's very limited space right now, but we're only allowed up to 100 on those pages. I just realized that last week. But what I wanted to say as well, that the Saturday, May 21st was our first international Tea Day on the World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development, with the second International Tea Day initiative happening on International Tea Day, and as well the World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development. So I just wanted to put those things into the chat before we move on.
Thank you so much, Lloyd. I'm going to pause the recording now so her presentation can be complete. So I'm going to pause the recording and then we'll start again. Let's see here if I can get access to my controls. I'm having a bit of a, oh, here we go. Okay, let's try. So we're going to resume recording. So now perhaps you can introduce your guest.
Yes, so Jennifer Nyanga, did you wish to unmute yourself and test your audio to make sure that we can hear you?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
excellent.
I'm Jennifer Nyanga.
Okay.
Yeah, team leader of the Water Resource Initiative. Yeah, it has 4 major projects. Project 1, usable, washable sanitary towels for girls and women, for girls. Awareness creation being handled by Carmen Abunda. Another one is permaculture technology that is being handled by Moses Makacha. The environmental degradation being handled by Moses Omkunda, who is the main speaker from us today. Thank you. And let us listen from him today. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Moses Omkunda, the team leader of Environmental Initiative Water Resource Initiative. In Initiative Water Resource Initiative, we are tackling how to change the climate that has been destroyed. You see, the world today has so many complications that affects the climate, and the climate has become a problem to everybody, including even the big nations, because we have destroyed all the natural vegetations and we don't care about them. And we need to regenerate for us to be safe in the next generation. Otherwise, we are creating up the indigenous vegetables, indigenous trees, indigenous resources that has been of very great importance to the community all over the world. This is an issue that is supposed to be addressed carefully, seriously, and be tackled seriously. In fact, in African countries, we have a very big problem with them. There is a lot of erosion. There's a lot of cutting of trees. There's a lot of harvesting natural vegetation without planting more. And you see, the indigenous trees are very important to organic manure for the production of food. The exotic trees, some of them are very dangerous, like eucalyptus that are produced in Australia. They are very dangerous. They draw away waters and dry the land. They are not useful to organic manure. Now, if we don't actually address this issue carefully, therefore, we have a problem. This is why we are trying to network with you and us to see and find out solution to make a better world that will generate the next generation. Otherwise, the next generation will have nothing. There will be no water. There will be no manure in the land. There will be, in fact, the space is destroyed. The ozone layer has been destroyed. So we are just getting direct sunlight to the earth that has never been there, because the scientific method has destroyed the ozone layer, which we feel we can only regenerate it by planting more trees to harvest and create some possibilities of making the climate better than it is. And in Saba Water Resource Initiative, we have 3 major issues. Issue 1 is to create awareness, strictly awareness on climate change, using the environmental degradation. Number 2, we have to regenerate, make tree nurseries to regenerate tree planting system that will be issued to farmers to plant. Number 3, we are cautioning the world and the communities to make sure they plant more to save themselves. Those are the 3 issues we are handling. You see, when we come to the international world, some of the international celebrations are done, but the normal common mwananchi does not understand it. This is why we have to draw back to make it back to the rural community, that when such an introduction is done, everybody is aware. This is a day of tree planting, and people plant trees in the rural areas, not the celebration are done in towns, big towns, and big ministers are attending, but the normal, the target group is not there. They are not aware. So we must get to the grassroots to make sure we save the climate change in the environmental technology. 2, we can use some technologies that can assist us to regenerate the climate. For example, the permaculture technology. But 2, technology. Those are technologies that we can use to the community, make sure we plant more trees and create more awareness that will enable the local community to understand exactly the mess what has been done. Otherwise, we are not safe, and we may not be safe in future. The future generation will have it rough because food production is becoming a problem all over the world, not in Africa alone, all over the world. And is caused by what? By many discoveries that are thrown to the world and destroy the soil. You see, the monoculture system of farming that has been introduced for big factories is a problem. For example, like in Kenya here, we have been having sugarcane planting. Sugarcane has degraded all our lands and soils and vegetations. So there's nothing. You plant once and it is gone. So we need to recapture all those systems that will assist us to make sure that we save the climate change, we save the environmental, and we be safe in all necessary areas. Thank you.
Well,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you very much, Lloyd. I'm going to share my screen with their website or their Facebook page.
Yeah,
Just a moment.
thank you.
Now, could we get your name one more time that you've been talking with us? And we'd like also if you could write it into the chat so we can have your connection, and also have some follow-up conversations with you so we can work in the future, and hopefully you'll be able to stay on the line through the introductory presentation as well.
Yeah, I said I'm Moses Omukunda Amakobe. That is my name. I'm
So,
the team leader environment in Shisaba Water Resource Initiative.
so
Has it
I'll
been
write.
captured?
I'll write
Yeah.
that. If it can be written into the chat window of the Zoom, the exact
Yeah.
spelling of your name, and if you have an email address and telephone number as well. I know we can
Yeah.
get in contact with you through Jennifer as well, and Jennifer is part of our network. But we just want I just
Exactly.
want to make sure that your name is being spelled correctly.
Exactly. So do I write on the email the names and all the you are asking?
There's a chat window in the Zoom. So if you go down to the bottom, typically it says chat, and there's a little balloon. If you click that, it will come up with a text window where you can write your information.
Yeah.
I wanted to know as well, Jennifer, if you had any sort of additional presentation besides the Facebook page and the pictures that we're seeing. Maybe you could tell us about what we're seeing on the screen, those photos that were taken on your Facebook site.
You see, for example, the Jennifer is a team leader of renewable sanitary towels. Those are using the materials that can be longer lasting and cannot be put dumping anywhere because of the environmental care. Two, some of the washable sanitary towels that we are using cannot cause any issue or any damage to our bodies. But the ones we are buying from shops have a problem. Some are causing cancer to our ladies. So you see, we are creating a systems to where we can improve the environment and save our people through healthcare. That's very important. In fact, in that, we are also working on medicinal plants, traditional medicinal plants that are not harmful to human beings. For example, the Artemisia for treating malaria. So handling that issue has got some component of health education. which also improves the environment. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is the essence of our network right now, is that we are again, if you are able to see on our introductory presentation, the essence of our programs are to establish what we call Unity Garden learning centers, and where we are trying to identify people like yourself, actually, who have this knowledge that can be disseminated worldwide through a network of these Unity Garden learning centers. So especially younger people can begin learning about these ways, especially the knowledge of the indigenous peoples and the peoples of Africa who are still using these and implementing these solutions, the regenerative development solutions that prevent the destruction of our environment and can bolster our health and improve the livelihoods of so many through these traditional ways.
We can put all this in so that we can share the information all over and see how far we can support one another to make sure we are changing the environment.
Agreed. But also, again, make sure we have a way to reach you so that when we spread this information around the world, people can reach you directly to assist in your efforts. That is part of the outcome that we're trying to accomplish. And we do welcome you to also participate in upcoming events as we move forward. We really appreciate your work. And Jennifer, you're our point of contact, so we're counting on you to make sure we get all we need to provide you what you need to move forward.
Yeah, so part of the program, we are in the process of having conversations about developing something we call a global partnership for regenerative development. Right now, conversations between 3 countries, Canada, Germany, and Zambia at this point in time, but we're hoping that we can connect with the African Union as well, and raise funds at a large scale so we can begin building these Unity Garden learning centers in all local communities, especially as well in the rural communities that really are needing this infrastructure for learning, and to have them connect to high-speed internet that allows them access to this information and all of these webinars and all the things that you can actually also deliver along with your colleagues in the regenerative development movement around the world, whether it's in Kenya or Uganda or wherever it is. We want to put all this knowledge available for everybody for free, so that this can be expanded as rapidly as possible around the world.
Well,
hopefully humanity can save itself.
As a note on that, Lloyd, however, no internet can function without electricity. So you know that we have access to the IEEE that has grants to provide electricity for projects that empower the community through education and entrepreneurship. So I encourage you, Lloyd, to make known that resource to any and all of the people that we're talking about, so we can work to build on the relationships that we already have in place.
Actually, that's a good idea. I should get back in touch with Joan Kerr and perhaps have her do a presentation about the IEEE smart villages for the members of our network, so they can understand what she's doing, especially with the CSV gardens and the establishment of the electrical systems that are off-grid and solar powered. That's really important component of what we'd like to integrate into the Unity Gardens as well.
Okay,
so
ball's back in your court.
So did we want to have more discussions about what we're seeing on the WhatsApp page, all of these images, or did we want to move forward? Do you have more things to share, either Jennifer or Moses, with us?
Are there any questions from the audience? I've noticed there's comments in this chat. Do we have any audience participation? Any questions from the audience?
Certainly. The information on electricity off grid, I think it will be wise to share that to all of our pages. As we make a list of these very basic needs that we're going to be assisting in addressing, I think that list should be put out in whole to who's already into the system. This will encourage them to try to keep their data up because they won't have to worry about electrical. That is going to be a very big positive to get this information to our people on the ground so that they maintain full confidence in the system that we're building.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's important. Actually, I should probably introduce you, Lisa Anise, as well, and others, of course, in our network, to Joan Kerr. And so Joan has actually, she's the impetus for much of what I'm doing. I was working with her far before I even met Andrew and others and Carlos. So we had originally a proposal for a community out east of Toronto called the Prince Edward County. And the original proposal we had was for that community and a retired minister who was housing some homeless people on his property.
Yeah.
And so this whole thing actually began as a conversation with this lady by the name of Joan Kerr from the Foundation for Building Sustainable Communities, which is just a little bit east of Toronto in Oshawa, where she's located.
Okay, that sounds like a wonderful idea. Let's see what we can do to set that up.
Yeah,
I believe that Jennifer is ready to give more information.
Yes, because what Lisa Anise is suggesting to you, Lloyd, again, you have proprietary information that no one else has. But what I think I heard Lisa Anise suggest is that you, Lloyd, take the initiative to introduce the IEEE, for example, to all of our network so that we can all take advantage of this opportunity. Not put the responsibility on Joan, but take the responsibility ourselves. This information is publicly available. I do actually have a presentation that we recorded last year that walks us through the process. But we need, as Lisa Anise is suggesting, a place where we can put this information so all of our team can take advantage of it at whatever stage they are. That's what I understand.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's been a long journey, and I haven't talked to Joan for probably 6 months. She's been doing her own thing, and she said it's just too much information about all the things that we're doing.
What I'm saying to you, Lloyd, it's not up to Joan, it's up to you to take advantage of information you already have through Joan.
Mm-hmm.
Make use of it, put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything else that you're doing, you're putting a lot of information. We can make a pack of this where our partners on the ground, who are the basis of the building, get that right away. And with a little more haste, because we do have people on the ground who are playing the wait and see game, and others who tell me that the data that we're putting out right now eats up their data that they have to purchase. And many stressed communities, they simply don't have those funds, especially this time of year when food insecurities are going to be the highest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we're building the network, not necessarily with I guess a lot of.
We shall document it and then share on.
So you were saying something, was that Moses?
Jennifer, you need to unmute.
Hello, I was saying we shall document the information and share it to you on the email so that you can see exactly what we are doing.
Mhm.
Because
Oh, you're muted again.
We've lost your sound again, Jennifer.
We have, oh, now we're losing video now.
All right.
Okay, so yeah, we obviously, we have quite a bit of work to do. This has been a journey that we've been building this network based on a number of partners that not everybody knows. And so we absolutely do need to move forward in a way that allows everybody to understand the integration, because this is a network of partners. This is, as we have built this, it has been about showcasing partnerships for the goals, and obviously the Foundation for Building Sustainable Communities had begin in one of those original partners at the beginning. So that Joan has moved off to do her own work, but always on my mind. We just need to I think, reintroduce the partners to her and what she had originally proposed to us. And that was the basis for what we've been building as well.
If
So
you look
did
at the chat, you'll find that I put in there a link to the video that we did last year that walks us through the funding process for the IEEE. They have two phases. One is a $25,000 grant that basically addresses the feasibility studies and working out the business plan to make sure it's great. But then there's a $250,000 grant that's available over 2 years to implement the projects that you submit that are approved. On the screen, I'm just putting up the presentation that they have submitted. It's publicly available, and I'll be happy to provide a link to this. As a matter of fact, in the video, that link I put into the chat, in the comment section, I'll put this information in that video link. So if you go to the video and in the comment section, you can find a link to this presentation. But again, I think our responsibility is to introduce to our team the tools and resources that we have available, and then find ways we can work and network together to take advantage of them as a building block as we go forward. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, we're always planning on circling back as when we were kind of ready to move forward to reintroduce these partners into our ecosystem again. But as my work has moved forward, I've been just simply building the network, and it's a matter of all our team members coming to understand everything that can be incorporated into these final projects. So did we want now, I guess, to do my regular presentation, or did we want to keep it short today and just have these conversations?
I feel like these conversations have been very fruitful.
Agreed. And we still have time for networking. And also, Lloyd, because we did it this way, you can have as much time as you want for your presentation after we thoroughly examine this content that we have in front of us. So are there any other further discussions or comments or questions about what we've heard today or our pathways forward?
Yeah, so it looks like there's only a few people on the chat right now today. We have Prophet and Lisa, Anise, and Awo, and yourself, Andrew, along with myself. It looks we have just a few.
I've sent a shout out to our presenter already using the information that was put into chat. So to make it easier for them to just send their information on, that I'll distribute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was hoping that there would actually be a presentation by PowerPoint or something, but I guess that wasn't the case. I think they are fairly new in terms of having their information available. So we're discovering people all the time over our network. As I move forward, again, I have to connect to each individual on the network and find out who they are, because they simply sometimes just join. And I don't know who they are except to see phone number often.
Yes,
So-
well,
Well,
and as we move forward with bringing everybody up to speed on protocols of Pied Piper methods of access, we'll be able to start dealing with this backlog of people who have already been interviewed. They can be passed to their relevant areas and administrators. And we can get that second level of introductions going on. So relationships can be built and we can get everybody working on the same thing. So.
Well, it is a struggle to get alignment often, which is why I like to do these IGU summit events so people can know what we're really trying to achieve. So I'm kind of the big picture person more than anything, building the network, whereas we're basically leveraging the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board Goodwill Ambassadors process of localization, where we plant the trees of peace and reconciliation in order to establish these INAP collaboratives that are supporting those local community, what we call the female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs, who would actually start to build and operate these unity gardens. But it is a long process to start to build this network, and we still need to build this virtual collaborative network as well. And this
No, that huge numbers. Yeah, I'm still working to get that Sri Lankan group together. We're supposed to be doing some video meet before I get them all on board with the idea. And of course, their present situation is a little on the dire side. So they'll be looking for whatever they can get. But I should be able to get that taken care of within the next couple of weeks as I get the hip hop crews there connected to the fellow who used to be an official with the government, so former government. But we'll see what comes forward on that, so we can start to get our foothold in that section of Asia.
Yeah, well, we do have a little bit of a foothold, not on the island of Sri Lanka, but
in India.
In India and Nepal and Pakistan.
Well, and I have contacts also in Bhutan, not just Pakistan. I still have those in Afghanistan and Kyrgyzstan. As we move forward, all of them based mostly on culture, but of course in conflict, culture is often the very first victim. So they're the ones who usually activate in the early stages.
So Prophet Cox, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, because my power went out, so I got back on and I missed a lot. But yeah, I would, and I mentioned this to Lloyd and to Lisa and Niece. For me, and I know I've been here for a minute, not a half a second or something. But yeah, I just, you all seem to be on the same page. I just still struggle to really understand how the system works. And I know that it's a process to get things like a glossary of terms, and that I don't know like who I should be calling about what. And of course my area, which is not likely to change anytime soon, is health, mental health, holistic, so I don't go too far out of that. And so I'm not always sure who do I talk to or what and how the pieces fit together. So I know you have a lot of charts, Lloyd. I just don't, I'm trying to see how I can catch up. And then as I talk to other people who may be interested, then I'll have a better grasp of it. But somehow it's still kind of confusing. I know you do this every week. But the pieces of it still escape me. So I don't know if there's like a beginners or what is it, remedial or something. I don't know that the yellow bus place or what,
Well,
we need UnityNet for Dummies, the book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, basically, Prophet, what this is it's that immersion learning model that we're using. And like you said yourself, all these pieces. What happens is as you allow yourself to become immersed at some point in time, all those pieces fall into each other and come together. And so you get all of a sudden the entire bigger picture.
The aha moment, huh?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it's happened
exactly.
every one of us. And even though at that point, not quite all the pieces will be in place, you're going to be seeing a much bigger idea that goes on, which this is really common with the large nonprofits across the planet, how they work. They've got a number of moving parts, but they all make a very firm whole that leaves no stone unturned, or at least that is our best hope.
Agreed. And just for your informational purposes, what my intent in this is to apply Gestalt psychology, in that the intent is for all of us to bring everything together. And as Lisa Anise says, once we ourselves reach that aha moment, then I think we'll be better able to confidently move forward together. But Prophet Cox, one of the challenges is that we are the ones that are co-creating this outcome. So it's really up to us individually to find out where we find value and how we want to bring value. That's not an overnight occurrence. So I'm so glad you're a part of this journey, and we look forward to working and networking with you and everyone else to help all of us come out of this, so that we don't leave ourselves behind as we move forward, to leave no one else behind.
Yeah, I think that that's the key, because as I'm thinking about it, like you said, Lisa Anise said, this happens all over the planet. I think because there's a Western model that, because I shared something with Lloyd the other day from Greenspan. Was it Greenspan? Yeah, who said, if you think you know what I'm saying, then you don't know what I'm saying, because some things are set up in a way intentionally with corporations and stuff to baffle people so that they don't move through the ranks and do certain things they don't want done. So some of the churches I know that were huge, they started breaking them down into small cells, because in order to retain people, they need to understand. They don't stay until they get an aha, because it's too frustrating and confusing. So I don't know if there's a way. So what I'm getting now is that even though I'm new, I'm still a part of the co-creation, where it's people coming in so there's a way to be able to, hopefully a way for us to think of some designs, because the Greenspan, and it was for him quite amusing that if you know what I'm talking about, then I haven't said it right then. So
if you think you know, right?
yeah, because it's designed to baffle. And so Jane Elliott, who's done a lot of work around anti-racism, she said herself, that's by design. So even in a classroom, that if you think you know, then they change the direction, because you're not supposed to get that clear. But we don't want to do that here. So I'm just
exactly, and that's exactly my point, Prophet Cox. Our intent here is, yeah, I'll get to you just one second, Lisa. But look, if what we're describing here, what you just described, is the quote Western unquote philosophy, transparency is the enemy of secrecy, right? And so what I'm suggesting is that we create the glossary, so that we can describe what we intend the word to mean when it's said in the context of this universe that we're collaborating with. And yes, Lisa Anise, we need a bibliography. And yes, we actually need our own wiki space, I think, where we can allow the co-creation to expand to everyone that wants to participate. Lisa Anise, you're about to say something?
Actually, what I was going to say was, in my first several years working inside the governmental and non-governmental systems, I found that, I'd liken myself to a rat in a maze. Lots of dead ends. And what you do find out is due to two things. One, your urge to press forward in spite of obstacles, and two, their sense of a need to know basis, which often is quite a bit later than when you really need to know.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And they hope you don't know some things, because that's the purpose of the media and all the distractions. So I'm just saying, like, even to know, when I bug Lloyd a lot, because I see him as the leader, and I'm thinking I need to go to the leader, but I don't know who the leader is. And even if you said co-creating and we're all here, there should be a direction. If I'm talking about a glossary, who is the person? I should, in corporation, I should be able to go to human resources or go to the VP of production or something. There should be a direction of who to go to for what if I'm coming into it.
But Prophet Cox, you yourself are now describing the Western limitations that you yourself are saying that it brought us to the problem that we're having. The intent, I hope, is that each of us, I know it's really a challenge, but for those of us that has the time and interest to identify what's needed, to deliver what's needed, that's the only way I see that we are going to come out of this better than we come into it, by bringing together what we have and then building on what we have together.
But there
There is
needs
no
to be,
quote,
and maybe it's I don't know if that's a Western model. The way I understand society, and maybe this is going off in the wrong direction, is that one of the things that happened even in the Nile Valley and all that is they began to separate because some people were better at certain things and some at others. And so they took on different things. Like we have some people, I want to know more about agriculture, yet there are people, when I talk to Bernice Atchison, she loves the dirt. She wants to pick it up and talk to the dirt. You know, I don't want to do that. So I'm saying there are people that tend to navigate. Clearly, Lloyd loves technology. And so
I'm a technologist.
right. But I'm just saying, not just by education. I mean, just by birth, that's what you do. I mean, that's real clear that you live and breathe that. I don't. So I'm saying there are people, if you can keep me a day and night and without water, food, or anything, if you're talking about certain spiritual things and health. So people tend to have certain, so to me, that's who I want to talk to. They may not even have the degree in it, but I want to talk, not just someone who kind of knows. So, but anyway, that's all I'm saying is start with a glossary. That will help me out in terms of being able to be.
But what I'm saying is that you have to start putting the words in the glossary. There isn't a glossary. So you need to start putting words together to describe what you mean when you say what you say.
As well, asking questions, and then what I think
I can put some glossary. Maybe I can put, if you have a glossary page, I can put some.
Did we
help
want
stuff in
to?
there,
We can
but I
create
can't put all
a
the
Wikipedia page.
AHIABGA stuff. You know, I can't put everybody else's acronyms because they come up with an acronym every time they say something.
Then each of us, yes, Lloyd. So what, Lloyd, repeat what you said, please.
I said, let's create a Wikipedia page for the UnityNet. I've never done it before, so I'd be learning to do that too.
And it's
Then
the
let's
real
put a
name
call up.
UnityNet, or is it something else?
I think UnityNet is what we're basically coming down to, that as what we are bringing together as people in unity, coming together from around the world, but starting in Africa with UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, which was mentioned early on, and I don't think you were on the call earlier, Prophet, what is a global network, because it includes all the people of Africa and all the diaspora as well.
Okay, but when you say diaspora, are you talking about the diaspora of people, of Black people? You're talking about diaspora like
we're talking all people on Earth
outside of Africa,
because Africa is the cradle of humankind.
So that's a belief. So I'm just saying, and I'm not saying it's not true, but I'm saying that when we say African diaspora, I'm thinking people who are indigenous to Africa and those who were taken away in slavery. So again, the understanding.
But Prophet Cox, I would urge you to look up the definition of that diaspora. And I'd urge you to look up the definition of diaspora by the African Union, which has a specific detailed description of what they mean. You don't have to guess. I'm suggesting, Lloyd, that in the Wikipedia, we use that as a place to bring together all these references so that the information will be available. So we don't have to guess. You don't have to guess, it's there. You don't have to make it up. You don't have to figure out, it's already just defined. Got a number on this.
Oops.
We're still here.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to my favorite friend Google and looking up. There is a link, the diaspora division. The African Union defines the African diaspora as, quote, consisting of people of African origin living outside the continent, irrespective of their citizenship and nationality, and who are willing to contribute to the development of the continent and the building of the African Union. That is their definition.
Well,
exactly.
As Prophet Cox isn't here anymore, I think she misses that.
Oh, okay. She dropped off.
think she
Well,
got kicked, I think she
which-
got
which-
kicked off.
which-
She said she was having network difficulties.
Yeah. So
Right.
what I'll do is I'll take that definition, the link that I just shared in the chat, and I will,
That is the official definition.
yeah, I will put
That's
that
what it is.
directly into our groups, especially the ones where Prophet Cox is a member.
So about the wiki, Lloyd, I suggest that you actually put a request into all of your WhatsApp chats about volunteers and interns to create the Wikipedia for this collaborative.
Mm-hmm.
You have
Okay.
that power. Just ask, and it's going to be
Yeah.
given to you.
I love the
well, that's it,
Wikipedia
right?
idea. That is totally awesome.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
could actually make a contest of it if you like.
Hmm.
Let's make
Sky's
the
the limit.
contest. I like.
I don't know. How do you make a contest of a Wikipedia?
Well,
We make it. Go ahead, Lisa. These.
Well, it's called spin, basically. You can put forth an information in a very dry, cut and dried manner and make that appearance of a little better than an outline. Or you can actually, using the right prepositions and adjectives, make it into something exciting. That's exciting to read, exciting to look at. And of course, this technique, when seen on the printed page, when we use simple things like color blocking, it helps the common person get all the information. Whereas if we have black print on white page, even playing with enlarged letters, smaller letters, italics, etc., isn't quite enough. So it adds that third and fourth level of presentation. This technique is highly used in visual media, television, movies. They've practiced it for years, where it's just a few words, and with color blocking and the correct placement has the most impact because it tickles the mind into imagination.
So these are all new things I'm learning as well. I'm not in that industry. I've never been doing these things. As I said, I've never even created any Wikipedia. I've never tried to edit a Wikipedia page before.
To the manner born, my father was a TV radio artist in the early days of mass media. So we grew up with the experimentation and the, what do they call it? Hours of tedium and moments of terror that they had in those early days. So.
Well, I mean, I'm still not understanding how it can be a contest at this point, but
Well, let's start from where we were, Prophet Cox. You missed the definition of Africa. I think you were out when Lloyd found the definition of diaspora. So Lloyd, now that Prophet Cox is back, perhaps you could share your page, share your
No,
page with us.
no, that's okay. Yeah, my power went out. I don't know when it'll go out again. I feel like I'm over in
mhm.
Africa somewhere. No, I was just saying that I understand that it could mean more than that. I'm just saying just the way I tend to use it in my community, it doesn't. So when I come in, I wouldn't automatically know that it included the whole world. But now that you tell me, then I know and I can tell other people. But that's not how in my community I understand it. Diaspora has.
Well, I'm just suggesting that if you are able to have access to the information that Lloyd's making available, that's generally available, that describes what it is, you then become the subject matter expert as much as anyone else. So you can share it with your community, and they can themselves now have a common understanding of what it is we're talking about when we say what we say.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen just a second here, which gives that definition. So hold on, share screen. Give me a sec, it's not going quickly here. There we go, share. So this is the website of the African Union. You can see on that page, as we go down, this is the diaspora division. And you'll see right here, the African Union defines The African diaspora, as consisting of people of African origin living outside the continent, irrespective of their citizenship and nationality, and who are willing to contribute to the development of the continent and the building of the African Union. Very simple definition.
I love that definition because by default, that does include everyone on Earth. Everyone is a descendant from Africa.
Very true.
I'm going to stop share because it's slowing down my internet.
No worries. But if you could put the link into the chat, that would be helpful too, I think.
Mhm.
What we're going to find as we move forward on the global events of
My
restriction.
apologies, the energy company had called in, so that muted me automatically and kicked me off or something. Go
Okay.
ahead, I'm
Oh.
sorry, Lisa.
All right, as we move forward on this timeline of prohibitions, revolutions, wars, what we're going to find is access is going to become more of a global issue. We enjoy a lot of access here, especially Silicon Valley, but that doesn't make it consistent.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm sorry, say that again, Lisa. That sounds like something important. What did you say?
Well, as we're moving forward with the world's difficulties, and I'm sure everybody here already knows that what's happening here on this continent is happening on every continent. And as that starts to balance out, we're going to be finding that access to the internet is going to wind up being subjective everywhere.
Can I jump? Can I interrupt you, please? I know that's inappropriate, but can I please?
Sure.
Yeah, only because, yeah, and this may sound totally inappropriate, but it's okay. Because, I have dreams and visions and stuff. And so I was not asleep when this happened, but 2 weeks ago, just sitting and trying to figure out what my next step was. This is something that I heard clearly from the spiritual thing. You don't have to believe it, but just what you said, that and I heard a lot, but in that was just what you said, that there was some attempt. Now you're saying it, you didn't say it was intentional, but it was like there's some attempt to begin to limit things, just like you're saying. So I wanted to throw that in just for my own spiritual work.
And you're absolutely right, Prophet Cox. Basically, Putin said this many years ago: those that control the internet will control the world. And if you take a look at any of those internet attack sites, you'll find that we've been in a world war for a good half dozen years, if not longer.
Yeah, so there is obviously a digital war going on. I mean, and China involved, and Russia, obviously, and so this is the new realm of media, and I think that we have this amazing opportunity to build a network, hopefully that will then become a virtual private network, VPN.
Yes.
Where people can
You're saying
access
there's a way to do it.
this information.
You're saying that there's a way to do it so it wouldn't be impacted. And in terms of satellite, I don't hate to disagree with you, but it doesn't seem like I do. But the idea that it's Russia, China, United States against each other, I'm more inclined to say that there are PTBs, or whatever you want to call them, who are not. They can be in Asia, they could be in Russia, they could be in the United States, but they really are on one accord. They're not at war with each other. That's my belief about it.
The reason I have my hand raised.
We know, we saw it, but go ahead.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Is because this is not a new subject to me. In 2012 is when the African Union actually had their meeting in South Africa to define to create the definition that Lloyd shared with you, right? But again, this may be more relevant for your Monday meetings, Lloyd, because there are specific diaspora legacy projects, and it's only when you understand what that means, I think you're able to better align your efforts with what is already existing. We don't have to start from scratch. And I'm very privileged to have met a gentleman here in Los Angeles. His name is Wesley Kabaila. He was among those groups of people that actually created what we now know as Kwanzaa back in the early 1960s. but he was the first organization that acknowledged what my friend Corn Smith and I created back in 2012 called the Kwanzaa Accord. The idea was to align the efforts throughout the world with not just these basic 7 Kwanzaa principles, but to align our timelines with it, but starting from what exists. So for your team, your African diaspora group, Lloyd, I suggest you understand and have them agree that there exists a specific framework. I believe that you can align the efforts of everyone in your team with one or more of these specific objectives. You have the African Diaspora Skills Database, the African Diaspora Development Market, African Institute for Remittances, African Diaspora Investment Fund, and the African Diaspora Volunteer Corps. Right now, as I understand it, every member of all of your networks, Lloyd, could in fact align themselves beginning with this African Diaspora Volunteer Corps as a beginning, and then decide which, if any, of the other areas they want to participate with. But again, this is publicly available information. It's not something I'm making up, but you'll see that it's actually that link that you shared, the African Union's Citizen and Diaspora CIDO department is the one that created the definition that you shared with us, Lloyd. So perhaps it would be time to think about how we can begin to align our efforts with existing plans and programs so that we can empower all of our people to be themselves and empowered in their own areas. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So this is an excellent session today, I think, in terms of sharing this information. So did you share that link of the page you just showed us already, Andrew?
I'll put it in
the
right
chat.
now. I'll put it in right
Please
now.
do.
So that for clarity for me, if the term Africa and diaspora means Africa and the whole wide world, then I don't know, confusing to me. So then the board for the Africa and diaspora should have representatives from Asia, South America, all over the
Yes.
world. It does?
Yes.
You're
It doesn't at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're having
because I
two.
get it. Go ahead.
You're having 2 separate conversations, but because what happens is that everything that we're talking about that needs to be, we have to create it to exist. What Lloyd has been excellent at is providing us, I think, with options and opportunities. But until we actually populate, for example, one of the driving forces for me is the example that Dag Hammarskjöld put together as the second Secretary General of the United Nations. He created the Secretariat. So you have at least one person that speaks English and one other language to be that person to interact with the people in that particular country or culture to move forward. In my opinion, what we're doing here requires us to do the same thing. If we're actually talking about the Africa and the diaspora, then I agree with Carlos. We need, yes, one representative from each of those African countries, but at the end of the day, as Lisa Anee said, she has contacts in Bhutan and Asia. And as you say, Prophet Cox, the diaspora worldwide includes everyone on Earth. So eventually we need to start from the top and work our way back down. But that takes work. But I think it's smart for us to decide how to make that work happen.
And for me, the first thing would be to have because I'm real simple with it, like it's like kindergarten, is a chart. And the chart should show Africa and the diaspora. Well, very fact is Africa and the diaspora. And I know there should be some explanation that all life comes from Africa, because it makes it seem like Africa dominates the scene because we think the need is greater there. Yet, as Lisa Anee said, we know that there's tragedy, and I've seen, because I went to India, tragedy of people, in India, tragedy of people, Venezuela, the bottom fell out of 6 or 7 years ago, and they've been eating pigeons and dogs and lions, whatever, for like the last so many years, if they could find them. So if it's really, the greatest poverty, the greatest whatever, then it's gotta, so it would have to explain, it's okay that life started in Africa, but people, I don't think of that focus on that fact. And so something that shows that there's, if I can see something immediately that I see I'm from Asia and there's an Asian, I see I'm from South America or whatever, and I see that, if I can see that, okay, this is from whatever, that I can see myself in that. Not everybody's going to come in the door seeing themselves African and diaspora, because it sounds kind of limiting.
Then create the dream board that expresses it from your vision, and then create the outcome that you believe would be most effective for anyone coming in.
Well, that's what it is. It's not just my dream. It's like what Lloyd said, because I mean, I'm okay with Africa and the diaspora the way I thought it was before, but I know that that's not a universal thing. So if you're trying to be universal, then it takes a different picture. And so
I'm just suggesting, I understand what you said. However, what you also said was that other people in your network or contacts don't have that same, vision or outlook. I'm just suggesting that if that's the case, and you want them to have a common understanding, then create a common picture that you believe would best empower them to walk themselves into an understanding that that
well, first
exists.
of all,
And
I see, hold on a second. I'm sorry, somebody's hold on.
Oh, did we lose Prophet? You muted
said-
yourself,
sorry,
He
Prophet.
said, hold on a minute.
Yeah, I'm still having problems. Well, hold on a second.
Okay, while there's a break, I would like to say I found the definition of diaspora on Wikipedia and just posted it in the chat.
Mhm.
excellent. Would you like to share your screen with that or not?
I don't know how to do that. But I
Oh,
can
well,
read
let me
it.
walk.
I can read it.
Well, if you post a link in the chat, then any of us can click the
Oh,
link
sorry.
and share our screen.
I
Okay,
have
I'm
the
back.
link in there with the definition. And the definition says a diaspora is a scattered population whose origin lies in a separate geographic locale. And then it goes on to the history of it. Pretty interesting.
So it's
I
not
don't
really,
see the.
oh, your light is
I
so
don't
much
see-
better.
You don't see it in the
I
chat?
don't see in the chat. Does anyone
Let's
see it in the
get this
chat?
one.
I don't see it.
No, it's not in the chat as far as I see.
It says to everyone.
I don't see it in the.
The
Maybe I
bottom
can go.
line is who living outside of your
Oh,
place of-
I see it now. Okay, you have to scroll up a bit. A diaspora is a scattered population of its
Yes.
origin. Da, da, da.
they live outside of the place of origin, but Africa is everybody's origin. But that's kind of, to say that, and I'm from Asia, to say that, and I live in India. I mean, I don't know if that's really a productive.
Well, this is
thing
what
to do.
this is why the African Union's definition makes sense. It's not about race or religion or any of that. It's anybody that wants to help Africa and the African
No,
Union.
actually, it was supposed to be Black people outside of Africa. It's my
I'm
understanding.
reading the
When did you hear-
definition.
Wait.
from
When
the
did you hear
website.
anyone say anything about black? Because Africa is not black.
Okay, well then,
Look at-
then tell the Africans too, because I've talked to a lot of them in terms of what it means, and even with some of the ones I've talked to for the United Nations. So you're saying then, when we say Africa and the diaspora, and when we talk about getting reparations or any of that for Africa and those us in the diaspora, we're actually talking
But wait.
about.
Your sentence is including multiple topics that have nothing to do with each other in terms of what we're talking about. Each one is
That's what I'm
separate.
saying, that the language is confusing, because I can guarantee you that there are people, when they're saying the diaspora, we wouldn't have that many Black folks across the globe calling themselves a diaspora if they thought it meant everybody. So it may be,
But that's because-
it may be misinformation, but I'm just saying, in terms of being clear for people who are living with a certain reality, it would be good to be clearer than that. So just put it in the
No, but see-
glossary. Put it in glossary. It's like feminism. I don't
Agreed.
think of
So
feminism
we're-
as men, but so just put in a definition.
Agreed. So I'm agreeing with you that we do need to create a glossary that has a specific definition that is
Yes,
generally
yes.
available to anyone. So the short answer is yes. However, on the flip side, I do have a challenge with trying to educate someone that either doesn't want to be educated. For example, here in the United States, just last week, there is an article published that 54% of Anglo-Americans in the United States have never had dinner with anyone outside of their own race or group, right? So to convince those people that they are of African descent is going to be a challenge. I'm not
Right.
willing to undertake that challenge. I'm just suggesting that if we're deciding to work with like-minded people, then I think it's up to us to define what this universe is that we ourselves are willing to admit. You already know that 70 million people in the last election decided that the election here was a fraud. There's nothing that is going to change their mind, but I'm not interested in trying to change their mind. I'm interested in trying to work with people that have a common understanding of reality as the first basis of our unity. That's what I understand. Unity means having a common vision. So I'm just trying to align ourselves with those people that have a common vision of the reality that we are willing to admit that we're existing in.
Well, then that's why we need a glossary, because then when we say leave no one behind, we don't really mean that, because we're going to leave
But that's a
behind.
separate, but that's a
We're
separate
going to leave the
description.
people behind that don't agree with
But
what we're saying.
but Prophet Cox, the leave no one behind has a specific meaning to the Sustainable Development Goals. That's their theme. But what they mean by that is something different than what is generally meant. But if
Okay,
you don't understand what that means, then it's impossible for you to agree with that as the definition. So I agree with you. We do need a glossary.
yeah, that's all. Yeah, that's my point.
So people, in our network, we, as I think Andrew said, we are working with like-minded people. We are identifying people that align with our thinking, and then they have to decide to work with us too. So we're not going to try to convince other people to
No, we're not. We're just going to have
change their minds. That's not our purpose.
they'll have a glossary, so when they come in, and hopefully a chart too of who fits where when they come
But,
in.
but wait.
Well,
Prophet
let's go
Cox,
back to the
Prophet Cox.
glossary. I don't want to.
But wait,
at least,
but
at least,
but
let me just
stop.
finish this. Let me finish this idea. At least when they come in and they see the list of terms, they'll know, okay, that doesn't fit with me. Otherwise, they may think it does, because again, like I said, the Africa and diaspora, the places I've seen it previous to this network was something different. So now I understand, and that helps. So I don't have that misunderstood word.
The reason why I was interrupting you, and I apologize, right, is that in your sentences, I think it's important if you allow time to understand the structure of the sentence, the words that you use in your sentences, because the words that you use in your sentences themselves create confusion if they're not understood, right? So I think the understanding that we have now is that we will create a Wikipedia page that includes the glossary, that may also include a bibliography that references specific information. But Prophet Cox, I guess my challenge with the vibration I'm getting from you is that it is, in fact, your understanding that many of the people that you have previously had conversation with don't have a common understanding of what the meaning is of the words that we use in this particular group or this collaborative that we're working with. So the solution, I hope, is that, again, we do provide that option. But in your earlier sentence, I believe you said something to the effect of people can come in and then find out where they can decide where they want to go. But I hope what happens is that people that come in are themselves able to define, who they are and what most interests them to go, not what we decide where they should
Oh, no,
go.
no. I wasn't saying where you all decide. No, I definitely wasn't saying that. I wasn't saying that. So that was misunderstood. No, that's what I'm saying. If you know and you can see, like walking in the dark or something, like which direction do I go? But if with the glossary and with some other, just kind of clarity around which is what's what and who's who and all that, you can make a decision. But to make an informed decision, you need information, clear information.
One of the first things I think is clear that, in my own personal opinion, right, there is more than just an IoT, which is the Internet of Things. There's, in my opinion, the Internet of everyone and everything. So I do expect that anyone coming into our universe, our multiverse, if you want to put it that way, will not find everything there that they may hope to want to see. But I hope we have to empower anyone that's participating to either create or co-create what they believe needs to exist in order for us to move forward in a holistic manner. So I'm really looking for this to be a way where everyone that participates can create their own vision if they don't see it existing.
Well, I like to, rather than empower, because I don't like to think of power coming from without, but somehow being able to help facilitate or draw forth of something that the power is already there, the vision, the gifting, whatever's there. So being able to open a door, which you have done, for some things that, so anyway, so just that the term empowerment is, I'm not crazy about, but that's.
Well, how about self-empowerment? How about self-empower?
Yeah, because that's what you help to facilitate. It's like a midwife to me. It's like giving birth. You don't have the midwife doesn't have the baby, but they do to try to support the safe delivery of it. And so I think that's
exactly.
Yeah. And I think that's what
Well,
you
thank you.
do.
That's helpful. Yeah, that's helpful for me to better describe what it is I do, because really, until we have these conversations, I have no conversation about this with anyone else. So I'm learning as we go. So thank you all for allowing me this opportunity to grow as well. Mark, thanks for joining us. We've had also Gabriella's coming in, so Lloyd. So they both left. But okay, so Owl, you've been very quiet. What's your thoughts?
So the audio was just broken up there.
We had Mark.
Oshunye,
and, Gabrielle.
Mhm.
Yes. Oshunye,
Yes,
you've been very
yes, I'm
quiet.
here. I'm here.
You've been very quiet. What's your thoughts, or if you care to share?
Well, I first want to say I appreciate Prophet Cox initiating this part of the conversation, because I too don't speak a lot because there's a lot I didn't understand, a lot of the, especially acronyms, because I know we've moved into a acronym language that I'm not totally aware of all of them, and don't know if I want to be, but I know I have to be. So I love the idea of the possible Wikipedia idea of explaining the acronyms. And that also, this conversation also encouraged me to look up what the word diaspora really meant. And it took my knowledge to a whole nother level. So I wish this wasn't live on Facebook. This seems like it should be a private meeting with us, but it's okay because it's already there.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. And Prophet Cox, I do want to ask if you could share with us that introduction that you have in your own weekly event, so that people do understand and have the option, right, of participating or not. But I myself have been active as a journalist since 1973. In high school, I was one of the sport editor in my newspaper, right? But since that time, I've gone on to be managing editor of various publications, a weekly publication here in Inglewood, a monthly magazine. But when I met Lady Alicia Hamilton back in 2011, who had this concept of a worldwide network where anyone could be able to access a global audience. However, the difference between, let's say, YouTube and this would be, it would be a private place where only subscribers could come and know that whatever is going to come up is something that's not going to be shocking to them, or that's not going to.
Oh, you muted yourself by accident, I believe.
We can ourselves be the ones that become not just consumers of content, but producers of content. So these 53 weeks that we've had here so far have been live streamed for the simple idea that the mixture of people that we have here, I think, is the best example we can have for our youth to see that we have people of various backgrounds, inputs, et cetera, that we can all collaborate and have a conversation and have an outcome together. And I just want to thank you so much for participating, because I do appreciate the value that each person brings. And I hope that you can believe that this private sharing that we are doing among ourselves is, I hope, really valuable for others to be incentivized to have perhaps private conversations among themselves that create enlightenment as we go forward. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's been, I have to say, it's been, I'm sorry, Lloyd, it's been so rich for me. The whole experience and really the people and meeting people and the ability to connect. And so, yeah, I don't know if that would be a way to do, have some funds coming in to have a small subscription cost or something. But that's the other thing. It is so rich. But the idea that we can't do, like Madley had said the other day, a summit where some of us who are out here and do work with community all the time, that we could actually do some courses and have a fee for it on the network. I don't know if there's a way to have two arms to this thing, because again, we're not just talking about Africa, we're talking about the whole world. And I think it was Juliet that said, and even in South Africa, we have a first world, a second world, and a third world. But we're saying, I guess on this platform, we only deal with the third world. We only deal with the very poor. We don't deal with any.
Actually, that's not really true either.
That's not true. And let me take another step backwards. Again, the platform that you're experiencing is, in fact, a worldwide, let's say, quote, free platform, right? But this is always intended to be a place where we could get ready for prime time. And by that, I mean, I started to tell you about Lady Alicia Hamilton. There is, in fact, an AHIABGA-TV channel that's available online, where the intent is for us to not only have free subscribers, but also people that want to pay to participate with our events. But more so, we can have even have pay-per-view events where people actually pay around the world. It could be as little as $5 to participate, or as much as $100. But all those are, in fact, options that we have as we go forward. But until we professionalize what it is we do here, I think we're going to be handicapped to go into the wider world. I'm just providing an opportunity for us to kind of get our feet wet and get comfortable with being in the spotlight. That's why I'm so glad, Prophet Cox, that you accepted my opportunity to provide you with the Prophet Cox Show as an example of a place where you can, I think, become an example for anyone and everyone in your network. We have 720 hours available that we can fill up with content, but it's up to us to decide what that content's going to be, what the season is going to be, what the next 3 years are going to be, how we can syndicate that, and how we can create content in multiple languages. All those things are possible, but we have to start from where we are. So I just thank everyone for being here and allowing me to share this journey with you. Thank you.
Well, I think that's good, and I think being clear about that, and because even the other day, I think I mentioned to you that I was on Zoom for 8 hours back to back. As soon as I jumped off of the 3-hour one, Dr. Zulu, then that was the as Professor Lloyd, I call him Professor for this one, because he was literally the last man standing. Was about 4 hours, and when you got off, Lloyd, we stayed on for a while. But when I got off that, I got a emergency something message to get on one with some people who were on Dr. Zulu, so they wanted to do stuff. So there are people who are connecting, wanting to come together, and these are people. I mean, they're not like the third world necessarily in South Africa, but they still are healers who have been out here for decades. In my case, in Awu's case, several decades working and doing healing work with not charging. And so we are like, this is a time when we want to have some training, some workshops, some premiere, something. So knowing that that's a possibility and that we can actually do what we do on a live stream and then stream and be able to, like you said, $5 go a long way, in this economy. And so that's good. But I just want to say it's a great place to connect. I mean, I met Dr. Zulu on the Africa Day, and then from his thing, and then I got a list of some people who contacted me and said, jump on here. So I suddenly, in a matter of a week or so, I've been able to connect with a number of different people. So it is sort of a magical place. And I think a lot of people will want to come. I think they'll want to subscribe, just knowing how to get it clear. And I also, this is sort of jumping to another topic, the African diaspora. It would be interesting, Lloyd, to have some of this conversation in a meeting with some of the other groups, because now we're clear now. I don't think that, because the structure of it is not set up that way. And I think that if we have a conversation, so that it's not like we're coming in usurping anything. If it's really what you're saying, or you really want to go in that, or maybe it starts with a dream board. Maybe we can do a dream board with a whole group and everybody has input on what does this look like. I mean, I don't know, how do we get so that, because I can guarantee you just from looking at the posts that everybody's not thinking of Africa and the diaspora the way you described it today.
Well, I will follow up this meeting, this discussion. I do have to get off in 15 minutes at the most, but I'll follow it up with this definition that we have once again from the African Union for what it means to be diaspora. That's one of the action items I can take out of this call today. The other thing that I'd like to do, of course, is continue to promote our upcoming third T diplomacy initiative. That's another action item I need to take starting today. I'm trying to find people who are, again, in the development industry, sort of the sector, I shouldn't say industry, that maybe don't have those direct connections with people at the grassroots, because they're in their ivory towers very often in the universities here in North America, and aren't talking to those people on the ground. That's one of the pathways we're trying to take through the conversations we're having.
Also, Prophet Cox, Lloyd has not shared with you the idea that this group really is a splinter from the September 21st, 2019. That was the founding launch of what we now are involved with as this ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors. It's taken on a life of its own. You can Google right now, AHIABGA, and you'll find that it includes activities from the last 3 years from at least 3 dozen sources that I'm aware of, none of which asked to do anything except include us in what they're doing. But initially, the idea was that there will be a subgroup of the AHIABGA that focused specifically on commercializing our individual activities to support our humanitarian causes. So behind the scenes, I began this as the president. Well, actually, I began this AHIABGA as president of 5 Points Youth Foundation. But when I incorporated my company, PARXTC, as a corporation, I actually registered the name AHIABGA here in Los Angeles, the AHIABGA Network, AHIABGA-TV. I even have a UnityNet global UnityNet services functionality that exists, but these are all dormant. And the idea is that when it's appropriate, we can take these initial intellectual property definitions, and then we can decide how we want to commercialize them. So we do have tools available to help you, Prophet Cox and IO and others. But again, it just requires the right expertise at the table for us to take advantage of what we have moving forward collectively.
So would any of those platforms allow like a holistic platform, a holistic like summit that we could have an ongoing, because they're just coming up, people I've talked to in this last month from different parts of, now that I've connected with Natalie, and I don't know who brought her in, but she's in the Caribbean, and then there are people in Zimbabwe and South Africa and Kenya, that all these people who have been out there doing this forever, but it seems like this is the time. And because what Lisa Anise said, and I saw in a vision, it wasn't really a vision, it's actually a spirit kind of conversation, that they're shutting some stuff down. And so the sooner we do it, sooner than later, because some things are going to be shut down for the benefit of those who don't want the connections to happen. And so how do we get, I mean, are there platforms that we can start getting those of us who work in that healing arena can get whatever tools out there, we can share those with people in other parts of the world. So if everything's shut down, at least they have the tools, the resiliency tools, the healing tools, the things that they can't get medicine shipped around the world to the degree they want to, even if they want to. And so there are some things they really need, some grassroots things and some things that they can do at very low cost. So how do we get that done expeditiously, I guess?
Set the date and the time and create the name and invite people to attend.
Well, just as we're doing in planning for the Global Climate Smart Youth Forum, that we have a discussion group about that, and we've identified leaders, and we're trying to do something on the ground in specifically in Nigeria, and then broadcast whatever they are doing on the ground in Nigeria to the world. So this hybrid version of systems, so that will be a model for future events, where we use these tools like we're using right now, and then start really doing on the ground things in our local communities as well.
But can we charge? Because we are needing to charge $2, $5, donation, something.
Here's the thing. Why don't you define what value you want to charge, and let's promote it and see who comes. That way you don't lose. You don't have to wait, Prophet Cox. I'm saying create the flyer like you do for everything else. Put a dollar figure on it and put it out there. Find out.
But I'm saying we can't use the UnityNet though. We need to just put it. You have other platforms.
But the UnityNet can promote it.
Okay, so we can't post it.
It's only my corporation, PARXTC Corporation, that is in fact duly registered in the state of California. We have a business license. we can function, we have a bank
Okay,
account,
okay,
but you have to execute a fiscal agency agreement, either with me or with other organizations that we have access to. For example, the Ed Fu Foundation. They also, there are multiple ways to accomplish what you want.
we have fiscal agents, I mean, I know of at least 3.
Then why are you not working with them to create a platform where they would be able to accept payment on your behalf in exchange for a percentage of the income to support the events that you're having?
Okay, so, okay, that's good. And so we can also, but with the networks that are, because it's good to be a part of a big network, that's a benefit to that. So we are able to advertise on those networks, the ones that you have and the global one. Is that, I mean, what do you,
Well, we
are
will,
are we able to put a percentage to go toward that? I mean, is there a way to work out that so there's a win, Lloyd's a win-win-win situation?
Okay, you've said multiple things in your multiple sentences that have
Okay,
no relationship with each other. In the first place, the platform, as I understand it, that we're now on, this group that is, I provided this platform in order for all of my ambassadors, including Lloyd, to be able to provide a way for their networks to communicate and reach the world. That's one thing. So Lloyd was, I think, was about to say, of course, AHIABGA, we'll all be able and willing to help promote what you do, but you have to be the one that produces what it is you want to be promoted. But as
yeah,
far
we
as as far as the payment is concerned, and that's a separate organization effort that requires you to make the commitment to define what it is you want to do, what prices you want to charge, and then it's very simple for my corporation or others to agree to provide a fiscal agency to support that effort.
Okay, and so even in case of like Lloyd, what you were saying, is it possible to work out a win-win-win so that because you do have a large network to be able to give a percentage, or how would that work, of whatever, because it would be worth it just to be able to access, because some people, I understand, we're working on behalf of people who are very needy, but there are, like I've heard Juliet said it more than one time, there's a first world, second world, and third world, and that happens all over the world.
Mhm. Well, I mean, if you define what it is that you'd like to do, as Andrew said, and what event or program or thing that you want to charge for, and then we have as our upcoming fiscal agency, and Andrew already has one, obviously, for the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board, AHIABGA, but we're also obviously, I'm working with people like Mark and Carbon Shot Earth, and we're going to create a fiscal agency that will allow us to fund those Unity Gardens, because this is what we want to build. It's Unity Garden learning centers in every local community. So that's what I've been promoting. So, okay, we're going to create a network, a global network of Unity Gardens that are being supported by the INAB collaboratives, where we plant the trees of peace and reconciliation and create these INAB collaboratives to support the humanitarian entrepreneurs who are running those Unity Gardens. Okay, that's our work. That's not the work of the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board. I'm one member, and that's the network I'm building. So that's what UnityNet is. And so if you want to do an event where we're promoting your for-profit, and that's a play on words because you're obviously profit, but for profit.
Differently though.
Yeah, but if it's a for-profit business, and we're creating UnityNet International as a corporation, it's a humanitarian enterprise. We can partner with the Prophet Cox Show, and if the Prophet Cox Show has a platform where you're delivering something for fees, we can negotiate some kind of agreement where we can
MOU.
promote, yes, an MOU where we can promote the Prophet Cox Show throughout our network. That is a for-profit entity. And yes, absolutely, let's have that conversation when you're ready to do so, right?
For profit, but then it'll be for Lloyd then, right? It won't be for profit.
No, it's not for Lloyd, because Lloyd is not.
I know it's for the project. So
it's not UnityNet. UnityNet International is 5 people, and it started with myself and Carlos.
Well, why don't we do that?
Then we brought in the other people, right?
Why don't we do that as a model? Because yeah, I like the people I'm meeting on. I don't want to break away from global net, because I've met some really amazing people,
Mhm.
and we're going to do some work together, and we're connecting around healing and wellness and all that. So can we do that as a pilot for us? Let's do a MOU. And because I have access to, thanks to some people that I've been meeting and connecting with, have access to 2 or 3 or 4 501c3. So we have the ability, but the MOU is what would bind us to the fact and transparency that if we say out of 100%, if it's global, and I don't know all these names again, but we're gonna have a glossary, whether it's a UnityNet, that 10%, 5%, whatever the agreement is. So if we bring in $10, is it 50 cents? Is it a dollar? What goes? That's a decision we would have to make.
Well,
But we'll
the power that you have, Prophet Cox, is that you can, in your, as a matter of fact, okay, my task, okay, I'll provide, there are existing templates where you just put the name in to have a memorandum of understanding of people that agree to agree. Then you have attachments or addendums that describe what the revenue sharing might be, what the advertising might be. Those are all separate. But there is an existing template that's readily available. You can Google it, MOU
Mhm.
template, and then put in the name of the people that are involved with that particular MOU. You can have multiple MOUs with each of the different organizations that you're involved with, or each
That'll
of the
be great.
businesses,
That'll be
but
great.
it's already publicly available. There's no
What
one to ask except
what
Google.
yeah, but what I find out about, and Andrew, what I'm finding is you have so much information that you take for granted. And so if you have anything, just, if you would share it. I know I can Google it, but I'm finding you come up with stuff that I've never seen before. People are asking still for that video on sustainable goals. You're the one that gave me that. And so
But it's
so I'm
publicly.
agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing. So I'm saying let's do this as a pilot, because here's what I see, predict or whatever, is that once people know this, because there's so many gifts, and even the people that have come on the Prophet Cox show, each of them have expertise, whether it's the doula, midwife, the mental health people, whoever, they all have something, and everybody's out there wanting to do something. So if they have MOUs and you get 5% or 10%, whatever we decide on, that's your
Yes,
revenue coming in while you're working on getting grants. It may
I
not be a lot, but it starts coming in. And I guarantee you there are people that want to do that.
okay. I'll make the commitment to make those available. There are. I've been developing this concept since 1984. So I do have a wealth of content, but I have
I'm
just
sure.
this year made available what I think are the basic intake forms that begin with an ethics agreement for us to agree that we're going to work together within ethical guidelines that are clearly defined, so that
Hmm.
those people that do decide to make this commitment provides a protection to my corporation to then be able to include those in my own professional liability that extends worldwide. But it
Hmm.
requires that each of the participants agrees with a basic set of guidelines. I have those documents in place. The first one is an ethics agreement. The second one is, as you say, a memorandum of understanding for a strategic alliance collaboration to to um, to work together to impact uh, the advancement or positive outcomes for humankind. Right. That's a general that includes everyone on Earth, everything on Earth, and then you have that attachments that specify a revenue sharing agreement, or even in your case, uh, Prophet Cox, each of your pilot projects has to have a name. You have to create a number so you can categorize it and then register it, so that as it develops into its own entity, it can have the same protections that we have in general. But the short answer is I'll make the commitment to make that available to you today.
And you've taught me something too. So this registration, because I need to then register I am Amari International. I need to do
Again,
that. But how do
again,
I do that? I do it with my state, like Kansas.
again,
Hmm.
Google is your best friend.
Okay. Okay.
Ask it
Okay.
how. But
Okay.
the longer answer is that in the United States, for example, our laws are different than those in Canada. They're different than those in Zimbabwe. Your laws in Kansas may be different than us in Los Angeles County, right? But the intent is for us to use, I hope, what becomes a methodology so that anyone anywhere can follow the yellow brick road to accomplish the objectives that they have. It's
Yeah.
not rocket science. It's already available.
It
Yeah,
seems
and
like
this
rocket.
is the idea of humanitarian entrepreneurship, is that we are all entrepreneurs who are on this journey together, learning from each other, and but focused on the idea of humanitarian gifts that we're providing to these members that we're working with on our network, where the idea of humanitarian entrepreneurship is basically a business that's helping to deliver the solutions to achieving those global goals, the SDGs currently, right? And we're working toward the next set of goals right now. So we're saying, well, we'll align ourselves with what we hope is going to be a set of regenerative development goals. We don't know that for sure, but we're going to build a network now, 7.5 years ahead of time, toward what we hope will be the next generation of global goals, the 2030 to 2045 goals. And we'll be positioning ourselves with the experts and the people who are passionate about these solutions that we'd like to implement to restore our planet and ourselves. So that's going to be the end of the call for me. I'm looking at just a little bit after 1 o'clock here. I have a call at 1:30.
We'll still be here, Lloyd. So have a
Very
good day.
beneficial.
We're here until everyone decides to leave. I'm in it till the end.
All right.
Very beneficial. Thank you so much. And so, Lloyd, let's work on that that MOU piece. So let's consider it starting today,
Well,
because
one thing I just wanted to say at the end, just before I leave, is Andrew, I did at one point see your, actually signed your document as well, the initial MOU, and I think we should reintroduce that to the rest of the UnityNet international team and have a conversation around that, so we can make sure that Andrew Networks continues to be our primary promotional network through UnityNet.
I'm glad you brought that up, Lloyd, because all those agreements need to be updated with my current address. This year, we actually moved from having a virtual address in Los Angeles to one in Beverly Hills. That's where our corporation has its paperwork. So all of our new paperwork needs to include our current address and things like that. But the short answer is yes, Lloyd. I'll make those available to you.
Yeah, so definitely, it'll have to be re-signed anyway because this is a new team. It was originally the CSF development group, as you recall, which really didn't come together at all because the project in Prince Edward County never happened because of the pandemic. So we're on a new journey here, and we'll have a new team, and so it's a new agreement.
And I think maybe having one of your programs here on Thursday, Lloyd, to be able to help people come and learn about how this MOU is going to work. Because I got a call yesterday from someplace in Africa, and they're having a class that I really want to take, but I didn't know it was $400. So say, for instance, if you had an MOU with them then and had 10% of that even coming in. And so just so everybody will know if they're doing something and they're advertising on, it's okay to do it, but there should be some kind of a MOU just toward giving $1, something toward, every penny counts. I know you all are looking at trillions, but it's amazing what you can do with a few dollars to get as you move forward to the trillions. So thank you. That was wonderful.
Yeah, I agree, Prophet Cox. But again, on the screen now, I'm sharing the updated, and it's called a memorandum of understanding, right? As to a strategic alliance coalition, confidentiality, non-disclosure, and non-circumvention agreement. And it's a template, right? But here's the main clause, in my opinion, is on the date executed below, Party A and Party B agree to enter into a mutual memorandum of understanding regarding a confidential business relationship for the purpose of establishing a strategic alliance coalition as to researching, identifying, establishing, funding, monitoring, and or managing local, regional, national, and international socioeconomic development projects for the betterment of humankind. That is a basic clause that begins all of my relationships. And this is the place where this form allows any individual to put in their information, whoever they are, Party A, along with my company, Party B, And at the end of it, include their name, their business organization, if any, et cetera, and then sign this as the first step. But then there's a second step. If they so choose, we can then move on to what's called a referral agency agreement. So that if in fact you refer to me clients for any activity I'm having, I agree to pay to you a percentage of whatever that is when it's paid. It's very simple, Prophet Cox, but these are models that then your organization could use to have with you people that you pay for bringing people to you that pay you. So these are very simple templates that are generally available. What I did was I included an attachment so that, again, you can have a referral agent agreement that allows you to specify the particular amount or percentage for each particular project that you have, because it may vary from place to place. But the idea is that it's important to have a template so that you can identify what you're agreeing to. And then as far as tracking the commissions, you have to identify who it is you're actually referring. For example, if IO brings someone to you, then IO needs to give you a description of who that person is so you can track payments to IO. And the same might be for Lloyd, and he could track the people, the income that's coming from him. These are just generally available documents that I think can be adapted for anyone at any point. But my task is to follow up today and make sure I do my due diligence in making them available to you and anyone worldwide. So I'll do that today.
You gonna email it or?
I'm going to publish it on SlideShare so that it's publicly available, and I'll send you the link so that you can share it with anyone in your network.
Okay, that'll be good. That'll be good.
All right, thank you. Again, I need to drop off. It was
Okay,
great
all
for
right, thank
that extra information, Andrew.
Thank
All
you,
right,
everybody.
you all.
And
Thank
and
you.
thank you, Prince
Fairly soon.
Andrew. That information is awesome. You
Yeah,
all
it
have
is.
a good day.
He has
All
a
right,
lot
very
of
well.
information.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm gonna wind it up for everyone today, then, and we'll follow up
Okay.
after this. Love you all.
All right.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.